one question lingers on the mind of Nigerians, and that is, will the Electoral Act 2026 strengthen the sanctity of the ballot, or it is merely, a refining of the mechanics of contestation? Citizens are also asking, if we vote, will our vote truly determine the outcomes? So the 2026 Electoral Act does introduce provisions on voter accreditation, transmission of results, digital register for party primaries, timelines, and results management. In the same vein, the same law also includes, provisions that potentially undermine INEC's financial independence, and they also create loopholes for election manipulation. Now, these provisions are not abstract provisions of law. They shape who gets on the ballot, how results are transmitted, like Shenwu just mentioned previously. They also tell us how disputes are going to be resolved in the next elections. In other words, they shape democratic legitimacy. So we are here to interrogate the law, to identify the gaps and its strengths, and confront those gaps, to ask whether the safeguards in the law are sufficient, and to demand clarity in implementation. Because laws do not protect democracy by their mere existence. They protect democracy only when they are implemented with integrity, with public scrutiny and oversight. And as we approach 2027, the credibility of that election will not just be determined on election day. It will be determined by a few things. One, the quality of preparations, the transparency of results management, the professionalism of election officials, how political actors restrain themselves, but more importantly, the independence and the integrity, of our security agencies and the judiciary. And lastly, the vigilance of citizens is what will determine, the credibility of the next elections, because democracy is not self-executing. It requires guardians, and the citizens of this great country are the guardians that we need. If the 2026 Electoral Act is to succeed, it must succeed to deepen trust and not dilute it. It must not close or create more loopholes, but it must block those loopholes that are capable of being exploited by political actors. It must strengthen accountability and shield impunity.